boys and girls, and welcome to this week's maths video. This week we're going to carry on our work on multiplication and division. So this is the third week we've been working on this, and we're building on our learning all the time and progressing through what we're learning about. So our learning intention today is we are learning about multiplication and division, and today we're going to focus on multiplying and dividing by 10, 100 or 1,000. Now, you did this a little bit at the start of this lockdown where we looked at converting between different units of measurement. And I know some of you find that quite tricky, so hopefully this will help us with that as well because it's the same skill. So to be successful today, you have to write down the question first of all. You might need to find a times table question that would help you. If you're multiplying by 10, you're going to move the digits one place value column to the left and put a 0 in the empty space. And if you're multiplying by 100, you move the digits 2 place values to the left and put zeros in the empty place value columns. And if you're dividing by 10, you move the digits 1 place value column to the right because it's getting smaller because you're shading it. And if you're dividing by 100, you're moving the digits 2 place value columns to the right. So our first example today is 17 multiplied by 10. So what I have done here is I have just put my 17 into my place value columns. So I have got 1, 10 and 7 ones. Now, if I am multiplying by 10, the rule is that you move the digits 1 place value column to the left. You move them to the left because we are multiplying, and we only move them 1 place value column because we're just multiplying by 10. So that means this 1 from my tens column moves to my hundreds. So it becomes 100. My 7 in my ones column moves to my tens. So it becomes 70. And a 0 goes in the empty space. So 17 multiplied by 10 equals 170. Okay, let's have a look at the next question. Now, this time it's 17 multiplied by 100. 17 multiplied by 100. So I just told you that if we're multiplying, we always move our place value columns to the left because we're getting bigger because it's groups of. It means 17 groups of 100. And if we're multiplying by 100, we're going to move our place value columns 2 place value columns to the left. Now, a way to remember that is because there's 2 zeros. That helps me remember. So that means my 17 is just drawn onto this table. So my 10 is going to move not 1 place value column, but 2 place value columns to the left. So my 10 becomes 1,000. And my 7 will move not to the tens column because that would just be multiplying it by 10. It moves to the hundreds column. So it's going to become 700. And then we put 2 zeros in the empty spaces. So it becomes 1,700. So 17 times by 100 equals 1,700. Now this also means 17 groups of 100 is 1,700 or 1,700, and it means 100 groups of 17 is 1,700. Now I've got another example here, 24 multiplied by 10. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to pause the video and try and work this out for yourself, and then I will go over how to do it with you. So remember that if we're multiplying by 10, because we're multiplying, we're moving our digits 1 place value to the left. And because it's only by 10, there's only 1 0, so we're moving it 1 place value column to the left. So 24, so 2 tens and 4 ones. So my 20 is going to move 1 place value column to the left, to the hundreds. And my 1 is going to move one place value column to the left to the tens, and a 0 goes in the empty place value column. So it becomes 240. So 24 groups of 10 is 240. Don't worry too much about your decimal points, boys and girls. That's just your place value grid, so you don't need to worry about that just now. Just put your empty place value columns before the decimal point just now. I wonder if you're tickled pink with that. Were you tickled pink? Or were you green for growth? If you got a green for growth answer, I suggest you rewind the video and watch it again, just to help you remember and become more confident with it. So again, I'd like you to pause the video and try this for yourself. 24 multiplied by 100. So have a pause, have a go, and then we'll come back and see if you're tickled pink. Okie dokie. So 24. So 2 10s and 4 1s. 24 multiplied by 100. Because I'm multiplying, I'm moving to the left because the numbers are getting bigger. And because I'm multiplying by 100, there's 2 zeros in 100, so I move it 2 place value columns to the left. So my 2 in my tens column is going to move 1, 2 to here. So my 2 in my tens becomes 2000s. My 4 moves to my tens and then to my hundreds. So my 4 in my ones column becomes 400s. And then I put my empty place value holders, so my zeros in. So 24 groups of 100 is 2,400. Okay? Now this is a bit more challenging. We practice multiplying by 10 and multiplying by 100. This question asks us to multiply by 1,000. Now by now you will all know that to multiply by 1,000 we move our place value columns to the left because we're getting bigger, and because we're multiplying by 1,000 we move them 3 place value columns to the left because there's 3 zeros in 1,000. So our tens number, the 20 in the tens column, so the 2 10s, is going to move not 1, not 2, but 3 place value columns to the left. So it becomes 20,000. Your 4 is going to move not 1, not 2, but 3 place value columns to the left. So your 4 becomes 1,000. And then you put your place value holders, your zeros in. So 1 0, 2 0, 3 zeros. So 24 groups of 1,000 is 24,000. Okay? So our rules for multiplying by 10, 100 and 1,000. Multiply always means move left. If it's by 10, you're moving 1 place value column to the left, and remember to put your zeros in as your place value holders. If you're multiplying by 100, you're moving the digits 2 place value columns to the left, and again remember to check for your digit holders, your zeros. And if you're multiplying by 1,000, you're moving 3 place value columns to the left, and remember to check for your zeros. So moving on, boys and girls, to dividing. Now, dividing means to share. So if your question is 640 divided by 10, when we multiply by 10, we only move 1 place value column because there's only 1 0. So we're going to do that now. 1 place value column. Because we're sharing, the number gets smaller, because if you imagine a big bag of sweets, if you ate them all yourself, you'd get all the sweets yourself. If you're sharing them out, you're going to get less sweets. So because the numbers get smaller, the place value columns move to the right. So 640 divided by 10, I'm moving one place value column to the right. So my 6 goes into my tens column. My 600 changes to 6 tens. My 4 moves to my ones column. And then the 0, remember we go over the decimal point, will go here. And it'll be 0.0. And because it's 0.0, I don't need to write it because there's nothing else after the tenths column. So 640 divided by 10 equals 64. And that is correct because 64 multiplied by 10 would equal 640. So you can check your own answers. Okay, 5,400 divided by 100. So because we're dividing, we're moving right, and we're moving 2 place value columns this time because there's 2 zeros in 100. So 2 place value columns to divide by 100. So my 5 from my thousands column is moving not to my hundreds, but to my tens. And my 4 from my hundreds is moving not to my tens, but to my ones. And then this 0 will move not to here, but to over here. And this 0 will move not to here, but to my hundredths column, which I haven't actually got, so my hundredths column. So it will be 54.00. We don't need to worry about the 0.00, so my answer will just be 54. So 5,400 divided by 100 is 54. This is correct because 54, times 100 is 5,400. Tricky. 54,000 divided by 1,000. So we are dividing by 1,000. Because we're dividing by 1,000, I'm just going to move myself down here so you can see the question better. Because we're dividing by 1,000, we move 3 place value columns because there's 3 zeros in 1,000, and we move to the right because we're dividing. So now I've written my numbers out on my place value grids. Now, boys and girls, when you're doing this yourself, you could use a whiteboard or a piece of paper to draw out your place value grids to make it easier for you, because if you can use them, that will help you get your answers correct. So 54,000, my 5 moves 1, 2, 3 place value columns to here. My 4 moves 1, 2, 3 place value columns to my ones. And my zeros is just going to be 0.000, so I don't need to worry about them. So 54,000 divided by 1,000 equals 54. Okay? And that makes sense because 54 multiplied by 1,000, well, my 54 would be here. If I was multiplying by 1,000, I would be moving to the left because the number is getting bigger. Because it's by 1,000, I would be moving 3 place value columns. So 1, 2, 3. My 5 would be there, which it was. My 4, 1, 2, 3 would be there. And I would have zeros in as my place value holders. So that shows that that is correct. So to divide by 10, when we're dividing, we're always moving to the right because the numbers are getting smaller because we're sharing. Divide by 10, 1 place value column. Divide by 100, 2 place value columns. Divide by 1,000, 3 place value columns. So let's have a little look at 30 times 4. So this is if you want to take this further. So if you're challenging yourself today, boys and girls, which I think some of you will be doing. 30 multiplied by 4. So 30 groups of 4. So a way to work this out is to find out what 3 multiplied by 4 is. Now, if you are skip counting your 4 times table, you know 4, 8, 12. So 4 groups of 3 or 3 groups of 4, 1, 2, 3 groups of 4 is 12. So 3 groups of 4 is 12. But the question was 30 times 4. So if we worked out the answer to 3 times 4, and we know that's 12, I can write my 12 here. And if I do 12 multiplied by 10, it will give me the answer to the first question. So 12, 1 in the tens column, 2 in the ones column. I'm multiplying by 10. I'm multiplying so the digits move to the left. I'm multiplying by 10, so that's 1 0, so that's 1 place value column to the left. Okay, back to my place value columns. My 1 in my tens is going to move 1 place value column to my hundreds. My 2 in my ones is going to move 1 place value column to my tens. And I put a 0 in as my place value holder. So 12 times 10 is 120. So 30 times 4 equals 120. Okay, so you've partitioned the sum into 3 times 4 and you worked out the answer to that. And then you have worked out the next bit. Okay, let's have a look at the next question. 50 multiplied by 6. So 50 groups of 6. So the times table I could use to help me is 5 times 6. 5 times 6. If I skip count in 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. 5 groups of 6 is 30. So 30 is my answer to the first bit. But they're not asking me what 5 times 6 is. They're asking what 50 times 6 is. Now, some of you might actually have solved this by skip counting in 50s, and that's okay. I'm just showing you a different strategy you could also use. So, once I've got my answer to the times table that helped me, which was 30, if I then multiply it by 10, because I haven't multiplied by 10 up here, I just multiplied by 5 times 6, but I need to still multiply by this 10. If I do 30 times 10, so my 3 goes in my tens column, my 0 goes in my ones column. To multiply by 10, I move 1 place value column to the left. So my 3 goes to my hundreds, my 0 goes to my ones, and a 0 goes in the empty place value column. So 30 times 10 is 300. So this means 50 multiplied by 6 equals 300. And if you skip counted in 50s, you'd add 50, 100, 150, 200, 250, 300. So that shows that we are correct. So boys and girls, the last question that we're going to look at today, 90 multiplied by 7. So we've identified the times table question that we might need to help us, which is 9 times 7. I wonder if any of you are using your 9 times table finger trick that we looked at in our last video. So 9 times 7, if I put down my 7th finger, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 1, 2, 3, 3, 63. So that means 63 multiplied by 10, because I didn't multiply by 10 up here. 63 multiplied by 10 means 1 place value column to the left. So my 6 moves to my hundreds, my 3 moves to my tens, and a 0 goes in the empty place value column. So 90 multiplied by 7 is 630. I'll maybe just let you do this one yourself and you can show me how you got on 800 times 7. So use 8 times 7 first of all and then multiply by your hundreds, okay? So today, boys and girls, we've been learning about multiplication and division. So remember to write down the question. You might need a times table sum to help you in some examples. In some examples you won't. Multiply by 10 by moving the digits 1 place value column to the left and 0 in the empty place value columns. Multiply by 100 by moving the digits 2 place value columns to the left and putting zeros in as our digit holders. If you're dividing by 10, you're moving the digits 1 place value column to the right because the number is getting smaller. If you're dividing by 100, you're moving 2 place value columns to the right. So your maths activities this week, boys and girls, some of you have got some multiplying and dividing by 10 and 100. And then multiplying using your table facts. So that's what this second part of this video was on. So use that to help you, please. You've then got ppm 15, so multiplying by 10 and 100. So think about your place value columns and moving them. And then you've got a TJ2A homework exercise. Now, I was speaking to some people this week that said those are quite tricky, but that's really good because you're challenging yourself and you're trying your best with them. So try your best with that. You've got an ultimate times table challenge and you have got some TT Rockstars time. If you're a triangle, you're also going to be doing the multiplying and dividing by 10 and 100 sheet. So you're thinking about moving your place value columns left or right. You've got 2 other worksheets for multiplying. And then I've got a little activity page just for you to work on your 7 times table to really focus on that. And then some TT Rockstars time. So I really hope, boys and girls, that makes sense for you. If you've got any questions, please contact me in Learning Journals or send me a little message on Teams, or you can come along to our Teams check-in and we can have a chat about it then. Okay, boys and girls, goodbye for now.